Hello and welcome to LOP Radio. You are on the air.
Hi, Entropy. This is Uilani.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm okay. What would you like to discuss?
So I just wanted to share my experience with the alien on Saddle Road.
I would be happy to hear about it.
Okay, so it was about 7 o'clock at night. I had just found out some horrible news about a friend that had overdosed. So I wanted to head over to Hilo to see if I could be with their family and console them. So I was driving, and this road is very dangerous. It's really windy. Probably every 2 feet there's a wind. It's up through the mountains called between Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea. So I was driving, and then I seen shooting stars. So I pulled over. I had to use the restroom, probably about 30 minutes into the road. I had to use the restroom, of course, and here there is no, recreational. So you pop a squat. It's a local girl style. And while I was doing that, in the bushes, I seen something pink and slimy. And I can't really see good because I wear glasses. So I got closer to it. I crossed the road. And it was an alien. It was about 7 feet tall, crouching down. It had 2 legs. It had 6 toes on its feet. Its hands were like hoofs. It had horns, so I thought for a second it might be a Diablo or something, but I knew it was a gray alien because I could, hear. It wasn't speaking, but, in my brain I could hear it, And I could feel the threat, so I ran into my car, jumped into my Honda Accord 1999 two-door, and I zoomed back to Kona. So on the process of zooming back, I seen its spaceship, and it was following me. So I went faster and faster, and I was coming around a turn, hit my brakes, they didn't work. I ended up spinning out. I spun my car because I was going to end up going over the ditch. I ended up going in the ditch, but I didn't fall off the whole cliff to the bottom. So I was about 100 feet down, and I was freaking out. I didn't know if I should get out or, because there's an alien there, and it's not like a road that anybody goes on at night. Maybe 1 or 2, 3 stragglers go through on it. So what happened is I climbed up it was really rocky embankment. It took me about 5 minutes to climb up, and I flagged someone down. And then they called the police. The police came, and I didn't know what to say. I was in shock. I hit my head really hard, and I just said that, I crashed. I didn't explain to them, I was chased by an alien. I didn't want them to throw me away in the loony bin because that's what they do. People that haven't experienced supernatural, they look down on people like us that have deep experience with the supernatural. They call us crazy, they call us stupid, but we just see things in a different way that they just can't comprehend. You know what I mean?
Was this the first time that you've seen an alien or UFO?
No.
When did you have this experience?
This was in 2011. I'm still fighting the court about it.
About the accident, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
They gave me a DUI. I wasn't drunk. I was having an anxiety attack. They gave me a DUI. They've done this to me twice in the state of Hawaii. They like to, anytime I interact with the police and they're suspicious, I end up with charges, even if I'm not the criminal. When I had a flat tire, I got reckless driving. When they tried to pin me with DUI, but there was nothing. I didn't even smoke that day. Herb, which I have the legal right to smoke it. I have a license. So I just feel like the government knows because it was right next to a military base. How could they not know what's going on there? You know what I mean?
I see. What was a UFO like?
What was it like?
Yeah, could you recall any details?
Like demonic. It looked demonic, and it felt like it had telekinesis or telepathic power. I was frozen for a minute, couldn't move. And when I was able to move, I ran, and I didn't think about what would happen if, because I knew my brakes were bad. I knew they were going, and I didn't think about it. I should have.
I would imagine that it's hard to think rationally if you were confronted with an entity like you described. Can you describe the spaceship?
It was like a disc, like a one-man spaceship. And it had multicolors on the outside, like some kind of lights, like orange, green, yellow. and they were rotating like it was some kind of energy force field.
Do you know of anybody else in your area that's had this similar experience?
No, I don't.
Have you checked with the MUFON website to see if anything else has been reported in Hawaii?
Not specifically about Hawaii, no.
Okay.
But we do have a lot of supernatural things here, like the night marchers, and I've had experiences with those night marchers.
What's that?
It's basically slaughtered men, warriors, that are ghosts. They come through and they march, and anybody that gets in their way usually dies of like a heart attack or something just blows up in their body, you know? They're of legend, but they're real. Just like ghosts are real, but not all people can see them. You have to be in tune with a certain dimension. And they call that schizophrenia, but it's really not schizophrenia. It's a gift.
Have you had any other encounters with supernatural activity?
Always. Yeah. I always have the deja vu every day. I always have dreams that actually come to fruition. And I don't want to sound crazy, but every single like prophecy or dream that I've had has come true. I don't usually put it out there because I don't want, the mental health organization to know what I believe in and thinking, because I'm a target once I let them know what I think and feel. So I'll lie and I say, oh no, I didn't see anything. Oh no, I didn't hear anything. Oh no, I don't see things that you don't. Why would I tell them? So that they could pump me up with pills and kill me again? No.
Have the local authorities been hassling you?
A lot. There's a lot of people here. You know that I used to be an adult entertainer and I had a lot of high-profile clients.
Right.
Well, it seems like they're all working together to discredit me, to bring me down, to put me down, like a true conspiracy.
What brought you to the website, lunaticoutpost.com?
I was searching, and I actually found LOP before I found GLP, and I would read it, but then I found GLP, I decided to join, and I got banned, and then I came back to LOP. But it was about 4 years ago. I didn't know other people. There were other people out there that have been through similar things that I have. I mean, a lot of it, I was forced to take pills growing up, told that what I'm seeing isn't there, what I experienced not real, that I'm crazy. But how can 1, 2, 3 million people experience the same thing? It's not, and they cannot even prove that crazy exists. You know what I mean? There's no blood test that you can tell if someone's bipolar or schizophrenic. It's all one person's opinion of another person. And if that person hasn't experienced and walked a mile in that person's shoes, how dare they try to tell them they're crazy, But that's what happens here. Nobody wants to tell what happens to them because they'll just get labeled. So I'm sure there are many people that have had experiences here in Hawaii because it's really, really a hot spot. Like, I don't know, the ley lines are just super strong here. And I don't think that anybody would actually tell anybody if they've experienced. You just keep it to themselves out of fear of being considered Lolo or crazy,
Have you ever had hypnosis therapy?
Yeah. For my abuse when I was a child.
Nothing about supernatural events or anything? Okay.
Mm-mm. No, but I do know how to do guided imagery and self-hypnosis and memory recognition.
Where do you think the aliens come from?
They come from hell. Or not hell. I don't believe in hell. Sheol, a different realm. One that we can't see. Just like, think of it like this. Biology, right?
Right.
It explains what everything is inside of our body. All the atoms, all the protons, all the neutrons, all those little things, 100 years ago, we didn't know about that. If I was to be alive 100 years ago and have the insight like Nostradamus that we were made out of a billion trillion cells and we're not even solid, we're little balls of energy inside us rolling around, hitting off each other, making us appear solid. I would be tried for heresy, hung as a witch, you know? Now, people are coming out as star children or seers, and if they don't have the right environment around, they get thrown in a mental health facility, they get drugged out with poison, then they don't even know what is real. And I think that that's a part of the government's way to make people who have experience with the other kinds of things in life that the mundane people don't experience. I think it's the government's way to discredit, 100% discredit, being crazy and deem that we're so stupid and dumb when really we're not, and we're just telling the truth.
How old were you when you first had an encounter with what you would term as an alien being?
It started at 3.
When you were 3
I
years
was 3
old?
years old when it started, yes. I was living right above where Captain Cook overthrew the Hawaiians. So it's a very spiritual place.
Uh-huh.
A lot of things happen at night that would scare the hell out of anyone, you know? Me, I'm not scared anymore. If I see a ghost, if I see something move, if I see a demon or, you know, if I have a prophecy, I'm not scared anymore because I know it's God allowing me to see it, to warn everyone else.
What do you think the warning's about?
Because a lot of good people don't believe in God, and they don't see that there's something pulling people's strings that is not human. There's a supernatural entity behind everything. It's either good or bad. There's no gray. And yet people are so stuck in this whole, well, there's gray. But there's no gray. It's black or white. It's wrong or right. There's no in between. And we all got to accept that. We all need to love God. Because he really doesn't want to come home and condemn his children. That's why it's taking him so long. He wants people to come to him. Yeah, I've had my time in my life where I forsake him and I stopped believing in him and I lived my life the way I wanted to. But he never left me. He was always there protecting me. And that's more than I can say for any other human that I've known.
Would you describe your belief in God as the Judeo-Christian God, or
No.
is it more of a spiritual thing?
I think religion has got it backwards. They teach hate when God is love. And that's the biggest conspiracy of it all. We should all be loving each other, not hating on each other, not trying to convert each other, not trying to prove to each other. I guess I have my own belief on God from what I know of him. Because when I went into my coma, I did meet him. And it was so amazing when he held me. He hugged me, and it was all white light. But he told me it's not time yet. That I need to come back, and I need to fulfill my destiny. I've been in 6 comas.
6 comas?
Thank you, Big Pharma.
Ah.
And only 3 of the times were purposely done. My mom used to give me way too much medicine. She would give me medicine to shut me up, to make me lay down. She would handcuff me to the bed. Very, very much I was in my proxy situation.
I'm sorry.
I'm stronger because of it. And I know that it goes on so widespread in America. I just wonder how many kids that are called disabled are really just Munchausen.
Well, there's an old cliche that there's no profit in the cure, and it's my personal belief that big pharmaceutical companies do not actively pursue or promote things to cure diseases or conditions, because as long as they can keep you on a medication to treat the symptoms, then they're making money off of it. Right.
Yeah. That's sad. So sad that there's cures out there for everything, and instead of allowing people to be healed all for money, Big Pharma goes to court and fights against change, you know?
Mm-hmm.
How dare they? How dare them?
Yeah, it's the same way.
They'll get their karma. They'll get it.
It's the same way with the food industry.
Yeah. It's hard, too, because, you know, I'm not rich. And sometimes, yeah, I eat GMO on accident. But a lot of the times I don't know I'm eating it. I'm just buying, you know, mac and cheese. Of course it's GMO, right? modified. That's what we can afford in here. You know, it's like $6 for a fucking bell pepper, $8 for a gallon of milk, $5 for gas a gallon, and the minimum wage is $7. How dare them? Feels like we're in the Middle Ages. Like we're the serfs and they're the haves and we're the have-not.
Sometimes it does. And plutocrats are pushing the whole idea that if you raise minimum wage, everything else will go up too. There's over 500 economists.
I don't think so.
Well, not nearly as much
the way
as
prices are
right?
now, prices have gone up without the minimum wage going up in years. It's not fair. The rich people just want to get richer.
Yeah, it's a scare tactic.
Horrible.
But if you do some research on it, you'll find out you're right that most economists agree that raising the minimum wage to however much they're proposing raising it to isn't going to affect the price of goods. It's just going to put more money into the lower income brackets, and the plutocrats don't want that. We have an upside down pyramid right now, and that's why everything's always shifting. It cannot stand. Thank you for calling LOP Radio.
Nice chat.
It was very nice. Very nice of you to
call.
All right, I'm going to have to take another call here in just a second.
Okay. All right, honey. I'll see you online in the ether. All right.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time. Good night. You're listening to LOP Radio. This is Entropy, lunaticoutpost.com. Phone lines are open 718-213-4601 or Skype LOP ENTROPY. Hello, you're on the air with LOP Radio.
Hi, this is Tiny. I want to ask you, in all seriousness, when you look at what Barack Obama has done for our country, take one thing that you feel is the most positive thing he's done for us that you would definitely keep, and then take one thing that you think is the most negative thing that he has done for us and explain why you would think it should be gone, and just, your reasons for that, okay? That's my question.
Okay. The most positive things he's done for this country and probably the planet has been keeping Sarah Palin and Mitt Romney out of the White House.
Okay.
And my reasoning on that is that Sarah Palin is batshit crazy. She does not need to be anywhere near the control of one of the most powerful military forces in the world. I look at her as the mirror opposite, but a doppelganger of a lot of Islamic fundamentalists. She's a Christian fundamentalist. She would use all the nation's power, in my opinion, to kill people in the name of religion. To me, that is very dangerous, especially in an age where we have nuclear weapons. Now, as far as Mitt Romney goes, Mitt Romney is a plutocrat. He would have raised taxes on small business and on people, and of course Congress would go for it because all of your business lobbyists would eat it up. As far as other things positive Obama has done, he has extended as much as Congress would allow benefits to people in the military, including extended help for people with psychological conditions such as PTSD, returning from war, and stuff of that nature. As far as what are the worst things that I believe he's done, well, he's continued the Bush administration's war on terror and even extended government powers beyond what the Bush administration extended them to in the first place. Here we have a guy that was elected president from senator who voted against the Patriot Act. It was not a I'm not here vote. It was a vote against the Patriot Act. But he has since then made an about face and extended government power and government surveillance. Guantanamo is still open. This nation still tortures people. I mean, what kind of example does that set for the rest of the world? when you have what's supposed to be the face of the free world, and believe me, this country is not the freest nation on earth, no matter how many times we put that label on it, that continues to promote nationalism and human rights abuses almost on the same level of Nazi Germany. I'm not saying he's Hitler, and I think these comparisons to Hitler are absolutely ridiculous. He's a president just like all the other presidents. But as bad as he is, he's not as bad, in my opinion, as the lies and the exaggerations that the propaganda machine financed by big business likes to throw out there against him. If his tax code would have passed, we would have had a much more fair taxation system. I believe the founding fathers, I believe it was Thomas Paine, I could be wrong on this, I'll have to go back and look it up later. It may have been Jefferson, said during the Constitutional Convention that a progressive tax system is what's needed. And that means if I make $20,000 a year, I pay a lower percentage than someone that makes $1 million a year. Because when I pay taxes, it affects what bread goes on the table for my children. When the millionaire pays taxes, it affects if he can go to Italy or own Italy for a vacation spot. So in my opinion, there's two different ideologies here that are conflicting. And I'm always going to go with the progressive ideology, because to me, it's more closer to what our founding fathers had in mind, no matter how much the pseudo-conservatives that have been bought out by the Christian right and the big multi-billion-dollar international corporations like to brand their new conservatism as it equates to fascism. It's corporate fascism. It's called plutocracy. And that's my opinion on that. And if I need to be more specific on any of that, I would be more than happy to do it.
No, but actually you surprised me because I thought you were going to go a different way. Okay, the second thing that I'd like to discuss with you is the situation going on in Russia.
Yes.
I personally feel we don't want to put any boots on the ground there. It would be a huge mistake. But I feel we have not done enough economically against the country. I think we've gone after a few elite rich of the country, and we need to go after their dollars, their rubles, and we need to hurt their stock market, and that's how we need to stop what's going on. What's your view on this?
Well, the situation with Russia is pretty fresh, and already we've put sanctions on Russia. We've kicked them out of the G8, and we're working with the United Nations to see what other steps we can take. I'm not so sure that going after the wealthy is a bad idea, because Putin has economic interest in the Ukraine, and those are not interests that benefit the working class or the poor people. Those are
mineral interests, correct?
Right.
He wants the minerals and the wealth in the ground, right?
Well, I believe that's part of it, yes. I also believe that Putin wants to bring back some of Russia's world power. He wants to, I'm not sure that reestablish is the right word, but maybe reframe the groundwork to begin a course in which he can rebuild the USSR is not out of the picture.
Okay, but do you think that he really cares if he got kicked out of the G8? Do you think that's important to him in the least bit, or does he walk away laughing?
I think it's important to him because people will perceive it as something that's important. Me personally, I believe the United States should have left the G8 a long time ago, because I believe that the G8 only benefits the plutocrats. I believe that our participation in the G8 only helps the wealthy people. And my worldview is that there is a class war, and it's been going on for a long time, but the media only calls it a class war when the working class fights back. I don't think Obama's gone far enough to attack the rich, as a lot of people say he has. And when I say the rich, I'm not talking about people that own businesses in major cities that make a couple $100,000 a year.
You're talking Americans, right?
I'm talking about globalists and Americans that own ultra big corporations that tell nations what to do. The corporations that run this country, the corporations that influence Putin, that influence global politics. There has been too much taken away from the people already by the big corporations. I'm not sure that attacking the working class of any country is going to affect the outcome of the situation, because the way I see Putin using it is the same way an American politician would use it. Putin would just take it and herd the sheep to follow him and say, see, they've attacked you. Now you have to give me more power so I can fight them back.
Okay, but so you think you kind of feel that what we've done economically is hurting the poor in that country more?
No. No, I honestly don't think there's anything we can do. And the reason that I don't think there's anything we can do is because it's not our problem. I don't like it for the Ukraine. I feel bad for the Ukraine. But if we step in with any steps that are going to make a difference, those steps could escalate the situation to involve much more than the Ukraine. I'm not sure if Putin is a master tactician or if he's off his rocker, but he's one of the two. And if he's
a little bit of both. Admittedly, he's a little bit of both. I
agree. And he also still has intercontinental ballistic missiles. And from some of the statements that he's been making, he believes he's doing the work of God. We're not dealing with Iran or Iraq here. Russia may not be the major superpower that it once was, but Russia has enough weapons to destroy the world many times over. And you can't put boots in the sky. You can't stop those missiles from coming in, no matter how much secret technology is believed that we have from the Star Wars program or any of that.
And could I ask what happened to our missile defense system? I mean, we put so much money into that missile defense system.
A lot of people got rich. A lot of people got rich, and a lot of people are still getting rich. And
it's gone, though.
It's not gone. It's still there, but it can't take out every missile. When you have, if you have 10 nuclear warheads coming into one target, you can't stop them all.
Didn't it get squelched as far as Obama goes? I mean, didn't he just pretty much say we're not spending anymore on this and it's done?
Obama wanted to expand it. He wanted to put it into Europe. He wanted to put anti-defense missile systems along the borders to supposedly protect Europe from Iran. I wonder if that was actually to protect against Russia. But he proposed putting more missiles that are anti-missile missiles in Europe. He's expanded that. That's not
how I saw it and took it. I saw and took it that he squelched it, that he took the funding out of it, and we no longer have the capability that we spent all that money on. And now I'm going to switch courses on you here. And you might want to edit this whole part out. You might not. But why have we lost Israel as an ally? Why has he alienated Israel as our ally? And why does he expect Israel to give back all of that territory? I don't understand that. Now I'll admit that I'm not one that's real educated on the whole Israel thing, but they've always been our allies. We always stood up for each other. We were always very tightly interwoven, and now there's the biggest gap between Israel and America than there has ever been. And we are asking them to give back lands that are theirs.
Are theirs? Really?
Yeah,
are you joking me?
To them.
No, it doesn't belong to them. They stole it. They stole land.
Who did they steal it from?
The Palestinians.
Well, they didn't steal it. They won it in a war.
Oh, they won it in a war, so it should be theirs. So it should be a big old war port. That's all the world should be. Whoever goes in with the biggest guns should take the land, right?
Well, no, but then we should have to give back the huge pieces of America because we won them in a war. They're our territories. We won them in wars, so, well, then we should give them back. I mean, there's winners and losers in war. When you fight a war and you lose people and you win a territory, it is yours. And to lose all those people and to fight that war, and then so many years later, just say all those deaths and all that loss and all of that was for naught, we're giving it back. Just, I don't understand that.
Well, first
maybe
of
I'm
all,
not looking at it right.
well, Palestine was a country up until the 1940s. It was an independent state. Israel got involved in the 7-Day War. And yes, it won. But since it won that war, it's not only taken the land that it took in that war, it's broken treaties regionally and taken land from private owned residences in independently ruled territories.
What territories?
We're talking about the Golan Heights. We're talking about where the Palestine terrorist thing was a terrorist thing, but it had there's a cause and effect to that.
But the Golan Heights attacked them first, so they came back.
Israel was not attacked by the Golan Heights in the 7-Day War.
Well, Syria, okay.
It was attacked by Syria.
Right. But they won that territory, so I don't understand why.
But since then, they've taken more and more land, and they continue to do so. And they kicked out.
But aren't they taking it as the spoils of war? I mean, seriously.
Does that justify it to you?
Well, it's always been that way throughout.
It's always been that way throughout history,
history.
so we should let whoever has the biggest guns just come in and take your house.
No.
Have you ever heard of the name Rachel Corrie?
No, I haven't.
Rachel Corrie was an American activist that went to Palestine back in the 1990s. An American. Rachel Corrie was killed by an Israeli bulldozer, ran over, smashed like a bug, because she stood between a bulldozer and a Palestinian doctor's house that Israel went into Palestine to bulldoze down so Israel could have more land.
Okay, but why did Israel do that?
You tell me. Why didn't our government ask Israel why they did that? How many Israeli spies have been caught spying on this country that we've done nothing about? Israel.
Yes, I mean, maybe I need to look
how much taxpayers' money goes to this one country over there? They make their own enemies. They reap what they sow. They make their own enemies. I like Israelis. I have Israeli friends, but as far as the Israeli government goes, they are very totalitarian. They are very expansional. They are very hardline. And they make their own enemies. And they get what's coming to them because of it. Now, I'm not saying that I support Islamic fundamentalists that are throwing rockets over the border all the time. I don't.
And do you feel that they should be able to throw the rockets back?
They should go after the people that are responsible for throwing the rockets and not go after entire neighborhoods, families, and generations. Because what happens when you kill somebody going after people and you take out the wrong people is you just made more enemies.
What happens when these people are smart enough to hide amongst their own population, for them to put themselves in the homes surrounded by children and surrounded by people that when it's decided we have to take this person out because they're going to take us out. Well,
first of all, we don't have to take anybody out. This is the United States of America, not Israel. And AIPAC is one of the biggest lobbyist groups in the United States that influences our foreign policy due to moneyed influence, not because American voters want it that way. The very second an Israeli spy was caught spying on this country, we should have suspended all military support for Israel because that was an attack on the United States of America.
You don't think we do that to them?
We give Israel money.
I know, but you don't think we spy on them as much as they spy on us?
Under Obama.
Oh, my Lord, we do.
Of course we do. But when you catch one doing it, you have to react to it, and we slap them on the wrist and keep giving them more warplanes. Israel has violated the International Nuclear Arms Agreement and armed itself with nuclear weapons, and they want to go and attack somebody's nuclear reactors because they might build one in 50 years?
And so have we. So have we. Unfortunately and sadly,
When?
we have too. We've violated all the same things, the same treaties.
No, I'm sorry. When did we attack somebody's nuclear reactors because they might
Okay, we
build
didn't do that. I'm
50
saying
years?
we violated the same treaties. We violated the same sanctions that we ourselves put up. We violated. Maybe I need to look into this further, and we take this conversation further at a point when I've got my shit together better.
Well, that's fine. But if you want to go to military.com, there's a story from March 26, 2014, which was yesterday, that the U.S. and U.K. has expanded missile defense in Eastern Europe. So I'm afraid that your information is a little bit tainted with opinions coming from, I'm not going to say far-right sources, but it is what it is. And maybe you should ignore some of that propaganda and start doing a little bit more fact-checking.
Okay.
And I'm saying that respectfully, but
I know
as far as Israel goes, I could give two craps.
It's okay.
I could give two craps about support for Israel. Israel should stop lobbying us to spend our taxpayer money when we have homeless vets coming back from war in this country.
Well, I agree with that, and I think we need to do a hell of a lot more for them because
Israel has more than enough weapons to take care of itself, and it creates its own enemies. It perpetuates fundamentalist Islam by killing innocent people in the process of expansion, and that is not doing the world a damn bit of good, in my opinion.
Okay, can I swing it around for a minute?
Sure.
What do you think of the Affordable Care Act, personally? What do you really think of it?
It is a piece of crap. It should be rewritten.
We can agree on something.
I'm against the Affordable Health Care Act because what we needed was a one-payer system. We actually need a public option in this country that competes against the private industry to keep costs down. And another way you keep costs down is that you regulate corporations that make the stuff, pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, etc. I'm not saying you put limits on how much doctors can make, but you can put limits on how much you can sell a bag of saline solution for. They produce the stuff for 90 cents a bag in France, and people get billed $500 a bag for it.
Yeah, my last blood test at a hospital was $789.
It's going the wrong way. It's going the wrong way. It's making Obama look like he did something to fix the healthcare system to make the progressives happy. Obama's not a progressive, and any progressive would know that it was a cop-out. It was a raw deal. It was written by the lobbyist. It does nothing but make the insurance companies more money by making you have to buy insurance. It's a scam.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's unconstitutional, too. I really, truly do. But
I'm not sure it's unconstitutional, but I live in a state where they say you have to have auto insurance.
So do I,
and nobody has challenged the constitutionality of that.
Illinois is finally going to let kids have, not the stuff you get high on, the cannabinoid oil, that helps kids that have seizures, all these thousands of seizures a day. They're finally going to give that to the kids, and hopefully by the end of fall, we'll be able to get medical marijuana. And I think the whole country should get it. I think that it would save us. There'd be so much tax revenue, and there'd be so many jobs open.
I agree.
And so many businesses that would be opening and everything that I just don't even understand the Bill O'Reillys of the world who are so stuck in this
reefer madness.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think marijuana should be, I'm turning the tables on you now. Now I'm asking you questions. Do you think marijuana as a recreational drug should be legalized nationwide?
Yeah, I do. I know that there's people who are going to say I'm wrong because of kids and everything, but if you raise your kids properly and you teach them the right things from a young age and you don't get high in front of them and you explain why they don't need, it's going to fuck with your memory as you're going to school and everything, and you're a good role model to your kid's not going to have as much of a want to go out and get high. They're going to know when I get to 21 to the right age, then I can go out and do it. And I think it should be completely and across the board legalized, recreational use.
Are you nuts? It would be the downfall of Western civilization. Haven't you seen Reefer Madness?
Yeah.
People will be shooting each other in the street if we legalize
Oh,
marijuana.
no. People are
There will be
shooting
so much
each other in
raping
the
and
streets over it
pillaging.
now.
There will be so much raping and pillaging and worshiping the
Yeah,
devil.
you're joking with me.
Yeah, I am.
I know.
I support the legalization of marijuana. It's a lot less harmful than alcohol. It would be an excellent tax revenue source. And I don't know if you have a gang problem in where you're calling from or not, but it would also take the bread and butter out from the pockets of a lot of organized crime.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they use that money to bring in the hardcore drugs and the weapons. And without that trade, they wouldn't be able to do that. People haven't really put together that equation yet, unless they've looked into LEAP, which is Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, who's actually had some interesting studies on the topic. And they're out of the Southwest, where you have a lot of inter-border crime coming across into America. And you have a lot of violent crime as the result of gang violence. And they've concluded that if you legalize marijuana, it will solve more problems it will create.
Tell me what you think of this. In Illinois, they want to take your FOID card and they want you to not be able to own a gun if you use marijuana. It's not going to be legal recreationally, but if you go and you get a prescription for weed and you're prescribed it, you're not going to be able to conceal and carry.
Mm-hmm.
Which I look at this now, okay, I wanted this drug legalized, but now they're going to take my guns from me, which I'm not willing to give up.
How many guns you got? No, you don't have to answer that.
What did you say?
How many guns you got?
2.
No, honestly, I believe that more people, whether you're a libertarian, whether you're conservative, whether you're a liberal, should look at contacting the American Civil Liberties Union, because I believe that is a violation of your civil liberties. And they do stuff along those lines to help people out when local governments try to impede on your constitutional rights. And that's
how we're going to have to go about it. We're going to have to
organize.
Go to ACLU.
Organize.
As a country, we're going to have to do that.
Organize, write letters, send emails, whatever you have to do, open their eyes and say, hey, guys, there's something going on here you need to look at.
Okay. And I got to let you go because Rush is going off, and I can hear my name being said. So.
Thanks for the call, and have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Take care.
Adios.
Hello, welcome to LOP Radio.
Hey, it's good to hear from you. I'm Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
I live in Southern California, 35 years old, self-employed, and I'm also an atheist.
Okay.
I'm originally from Ohio. Spent 10 years in Alabama before I made my way out west, and was deeply rooted there in the Bible Belt for a long time. Used to go to church every time the doors were open. Got a lot of fun out of it, mostly just hanging out with people, and you got to do fun little trips and whatnot. But I always had questions, always had a lot of questions that there didn't seem to be answers for in the Southern Baptist religion I was practicing. I would consider myself a scholar of the Bible, self-taught, of course. I know it fairly darn well. And for me, obviously, I had way more contradictions and, well, frankly, BS than anything I could truly back as like a word of any sort of God. And I get a lot of religious fanatics. You know, I tell them I'm an atheist, and I always hear the same thing. Oh, I'll pray for you, or you're going to hell, or I'm so sorry. As if, well, that makes me feel bad or better or anything, really. I often try to get into a serious discussion with some of these people, and I find it's really hard to when they won't stand up to any facts of any sort. And anytime you shoot down the argument or even have any sort of argument, they just say, well, I believe it because the Bible says so.
Right.
And yeah, it's kind of disheartening that so many otherwise intelligent people, because a lot of my intelligent close friends are Christian, and I would listen to them on almost any other subject, but they suspend their belief or their intelligence, to follow these made-up stories. And so it's frustrating, but I think a lot of the younger generations, I think atheism is kind of catching on more and more. It's growing, and a lot more people are less afraid to admit the fact that they're an atheist.
Statistically, it's growing faster than it has in history.
Well, I'd like to think that is because of the all the access to information, on the internet and Google, and there's way too much science to ignore, I guess, to believe all that bullshit.
Now, you said you were from Ohio. Which part?
Little town called Indian Lake. It's midwestern Ohio. It's about 50 miles north of Dayton.
I've driven through that part of Ohio, but I've never visited it. I went to visit the Cleveland Freethinkers a few years ago. That's a secular group up in Cleveland. Really good group of people. We had a meeting up there. They're on Facebook, Daniel, if you want to look them up. It's Cleveland Freethinkers, I believe. And they also have a meetup page on the internet. Do you feel there's a lot of discrimination against atheists?
Yes and no. I mean, I see the look of disdain on people's face, but I can't say personally that I've ever really felt that discrimination. I guess the closest I ever felt, and this was just a mild case, it was from one of my very close friends of mine. We've been friends for years, and it just had never came up. And she said, well, I mentioned that I was atheist, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. And it just struck me. And, I don't really consider that discrimination, but it stung. I'll admit that. But most of the time, I'm pretty open about it, and it doesn't really bother me what other people think. Recently, I came across some stuff on Twitter about a teenage girl who has a Twitter account, and someone at her school, which is full of a bunch of religious people, I guess, and that she got outed at her school, and now she's getting bullied and discriminated against. And obviously, I have no way to know how true or valid that story is, but I could see that as an example. And a lot of the people that I follow on Twitter who are atheists, were trying to show her some support under the hashtag atheist teen, because she wanted to remain as anonymous as possible. And then, of course, being Twitter, there was several people that jumped on to belittle her even more and to bring her down and tell her she's evil and this, that, and the other. So I'm assuming that would be a good example of discrimination against atheists. Certainly on the flip side of the coin, I hear a lot of Christians mention that they're being persecuted or their religious liberties are being trampled on. And I find that absolutely ridiculous, especially here in America. Perhaps, in other parts of the world it's different. But I think if you're a Christian here, you're pretty safe from persecution. And I'm a firm believer in separation of church and state. I'm not against anybody having their religious beliefs. That's fine. Keep them to yourself. Just keep them out of the legislation. especially this ignorant stuff about, oh, we don't want to provide contraception to our employees because it's against our religious beliefs. And people that are opposed to marriage equality because of their religious beliefs when it absolutely has nothing to do with them. Nobody's trying to infringe on their right to be religious, especially when it comes to marriage equality. It's not like we're asking the churches to perform gay marriages. We just want it to be legal for everybody, so everybody has the same rights as everyone else. If you love somebody, then you should be able to marry them and have the same rights that come with that. And I don't know, I guess there's just a lot of intolerance that's just perfectly acceptable from religious people, although allegedly, all they preach is love.
Do you believe that religious people are truly feeling persecuted, or is it possible that they are defending a false sense of entitlement? In other words, they can have all these rights, but nobody else can have them.
I would say there's some of that going on, for sure. And, they get really defensive when you start questioning their beliefs, and anything that doesn't fit right in their circle of delusion, it scares them, I think. Anything that's different, and I believe that's something that humans in general have dealt with throughout all time. People have always been scared of things that are different. But definitely the religious persecution argument I find to be total hogwash.
The Constitution of the United States states that no litmus test as far as religion will be applied to anyone running for office. However, in the states of Arkansas, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, it forbids in the state constitutions for non-Christians to run for public office. I don't know if the Supreme Court has ever addressed that or if it's even been challenged. Are you aware of any challenges to those laws and charter at the federal level?
I am not aware of any of that being addressed, although I have read of those laws, and pretty much any politician who's trying to run for office out there, if they came out and blatantly said, I'm an atheist, I don't think they would have a chance in hell of getting elected. So I'm sure there are, at the very least, secular people in government, but I don't think anybody would ever admit to it, or they wouldn't be in office very long.
Yeah, I believe there's a lot more closet atheists in America than they will admit to being atheist because of the peer pressure and public outlook.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
How do you feel about science?
I love science.
You said you were from Ohio, and right next door in Kentucky, the Creationist Museum is located, and it's ran by Ken Ham. And I read that they are using public funds to build a scale replica of Noah's Ark. And a town, I can't recall the name, gave them a donation, but it's public money, it's taxpayers' money, funding this project. To me, that's a violation of church and state. How do you feel about it?
I do. At the very least, I think it's a huge waste of money when that could go into higher education funds or, preschools or feeding poor people. I mean, there's countless things that would be better served by that money. And
well, all of that sounds like ideas that Christians should support by their own beliefs, by their own sayings.
Well, you would think so, but I found many Christians to be quite hypocritical in one degree or another.
Is there a difference in perception of atheism from where you moved to where you currently live?
I would say yes, definitely. I never really came out as atheist when I still lived in Alabama, just because I didn't want to put up with all of that mess. But I have no problem voicing it here in Southern California. You know, I guess we're all liberal hippies or whatever. But like I said, I'm myself. I'm pretty outspoken about it, and I found when I first started posting the atheist stuff on Facebook, I used to only do it on Sundays just because, I don't know, figured apt. And I noticed the longer I did that, more and more of my friends would actually come out of the woodwork and they would post their own non-belief as well. I mean, I have many friends on Facebook where, you know, every day it's their Bible verse or thank God for this and that, or I'm praying for this. And of course, I find it to be ridiculous. And like, instead of praying, why don't you get off your ass and go do something? Be a lot more effective. But like I said, I try not to begrudge anyone for their beliefs, although I do think they are ridiculous beliefs.
Have you ever dealt with a person that posts a lot of religious stuff and you kind of ignore it, blow it off, whatever? But as soon as you post something supporting your beliefs, they're all up in your face about it. And the reason I'm asking is because I've had a lot of experiences like that.
I had a couple of experiences like that, but I kind of weeded them out. I have a couple real good Christian friends. We talk about religion all the time. We discuss it, and we both know neither one of us is going to change the other's mind. But we do it in a respectful manner and without personal attacks. And I think that's very important to the discussion. You know,
right?
When you start calling people names and belittling them, you know, you're not serving any grand purpose.
Why do you think there's so much bullying in modern society?
Well, I'm not sure if there's more than there used to be, and I may be wrong about that. I think it's just more visible because of social media and, you know, 24-hour news cycle, etc. But I mean, I got picked on when I was a kid, you know, for dumb stuff. You look silly or whatever, and I never thought it was that big a deal. And I've seen people get bullied, and I understand some people are more sensitive to it than others. I certainly don't condone it, but I don't know necessarily if there's more of it now or we're just more aware of it.
Right. That's a good point. Do you think social media has helped society in this nation, or has it hurt it?
Well, I'd like to think it has good benefits and bad benefits. You know, the good benefits is it makes it really easy to connect with people all over the country, people you have never even met before. And you can share ideas. You know, although a lot of times people will pigeonhole themselves into groups where they're only around people that agree with them. So they never really expand the horizon. They're just finding people to say, oh, yeah, you're right. Also, I think some people take it a little too far, and maybe it hurts their real-life interpersonal relationships. You know, so that might be a detriment to it. But I think overall, it's a good thing.
What public figures would you consider inspirational to you?
I'm sorry?
Are there any public figures that you find inspirational as role models?
Well, Wendy Davis from Texas, she's a state senator there running for governor of that state. And I really like her style. I like what she stands for, you know, women's rights and just general fairness. I like Gabby Giffords. And that poor gal went through hell and back, although she's no longer in Congress. And I know a lot of people would find this opinion unpopular, but I like Obama. He's articulate. He's intelligent. I'd like to think that he's a closet agnostic, but I don't know. Not for me to question his beliefs. But I like the way he handles himself, even in the face of all the opposition. And I really can't think of many others that come to mind as far as public figures.
10 years ago in this country, could you imagine someone like Barack Obama being elected president?
No, not really. But I couldn't imagine anybody like George W. Bush being elected president either, and that happened. So that's hard to say. I mean, I think that was the whole Bush thing was just the country saying, yes, we're ignorant. You know, let's go with the ignorant guy because he's like us. And then, of course, we got into all the wars, which made his reelection that much easier. And after his 8 years, everything was so messed up and on a downward spiral, especially with the economy. I think that any Democrat could have won in '08. But personally, I was glad it was Barack Obama.
Would you consider yourself a party guy? Or are you?
I guess I am more so than I used to be because I never really used to vote down party lines. Like, for example, I voted for McCain in the 2000 Republican primary because I really liked who he was then. Then when he reinvented himself in '08 and he brought out Sarah Palin, I kind of lost all respect for the guy.
Do you think that conservatism has turned too far to the right to be in touch with the common people?
I do. I really do. And I would point back to the Republican primary in 12 and just their entire batch of candidates. Mitt Romney wasn't that great of a candidate, but he was head and shoulders above the rest of them, like Michelle Bachmann and I actually really like John Huntsman, although he got shuffled out pretty quick. But he believes in evolution and science and common sense, so I can see where that would fail him in the Republican primary. But yeah, I think they're really far to the right, and the Tea Party, I believe, has been pretty detrimental as well. Just talk about Congress that does absolutely nothing, and it's oppose at every turn. You know, if Obama says A, even if A is the best solution, they're going to say B, even if A used to be their position, which it was, like on healthcare and individual mandate. That was a Republican idea in the 90s. But oh no, Obama breaks it up. Oh, you're a socialist. And personally, I don't think half the people that throw that word around know what a socialist actually is.
I would agree. Are you familiar with the term plutocrat?
I've heard it, but I can't say that I know the exact definition.
Basically, it's rule by wealth. If the money buys the votes. And the reason I was asking is I was going to ask you what your opinion was of special interest groups funded by major corporations that rewrite everything in Congress and regurgitate it back to them before they pass a bill.
Well, I think that's detrimental, and I blame both sides for that. They have their super PACs. I was extremely disappointed in the Supreme Court ruling of Citizens United, where they said corporations are people and they can donate unlimited funds to these super PACs. You know, I think it's completely detrimental because you have these handful of ultra-rich people that are guiding things, or at least attempting to guide things in the way that they want them, that's beneficial to them, when it's not necessarily beneficial to our country as a whole.
That is very alarming. To me, it seems like if a business owner is a person, and a business owner can vote, and a business owner can contribute however much of their wealth they want to a political candidate, then making the business owner's corporation have the same rights as a human being not only takes the liability off the business owner if his corporation does something underhanded, it also almost makes them a second voter. It gives them well, even more than a second voter. It's how much money they can use to influence something. But it gives them way too much power, and I believe that we have corporations in this country that are infinitely more powerful than politicians are.
Oh, I would agree. And, they hold the politicians under their thumbs. Like I said, this is both sides of the aisle. And if that politician doesn't do what they want, well, they'll fund the opposition candidate. They'll primary him out of office. So, yeah, some sort of logical campaign finance reform would be great, but I don't think you'll ever get. It's like they opened Pandora's box on it at this point. I believe they spent over $1 billion on last election. It's just insane the amount of money it takes to even have a chance to be competitive in any of these races. And so these candidates have to sell their souls to these big donors just to have a chance to win. And then once they're in, instead of going and changing Washington like they all say that they're going to do, or working for the people, they end up, kissing the ass of the corporation so they can keep that money rolling in so they can get reelected and stay in office. And it's a vicious cycle. I don't know. I would have to say a combination of term limits and some sort of campaign finance reform. And I would definitely do away with the super PACs because they don't have to disclose their donors. I've heard it said before that politicians wear the patches of the companies that support them on their suits, like the NASCAR drivers. And I kind of agree with that, although that's a simplistic way to put it. But it'd be nice to know who you're really supporting.
It would be.
Where your interests really lie.
I would go a step further. I think they should have the logos of every corporation that donates to their campaign and influences their legislation tattooed on their body. And when they run out of skin to put tattoos on, it should go to their children. Maybe then they'll start listening to the people more than they listen to the money of big corporations. I know that's sort of a very extremist sort of viewpoint, but something has to happen.
Yeah, it certainly does. I'm just a simple fella. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do know there's a problem, and it's not being addressed. And I don't think enough Americans are actually aware of it to even stand up and make their voices heard.
Oh, this is a country where we have educational television networks, and I'll use that term educational very loosely, broadcasting Pawn Stars and Honey Boo Boo.
Mm-hmm.
And people eat it up. They eat it alive. It's a distraction from their daily routine, and they don't actually pay attention to anything of educational value. They don't pay attention to anything of political value, except for what's spoon-fed to them in the 30-minute news broadcast, if they take the time to do that.
Yeah, see, I'm personally a political junkie. My television is on one news channel or another pretty much 90% of the time. And I like watching, I watch CNN and I watch MSNBC. And I watch Fox News if I need to laugh, I'll just laugh until I start crying, then I have to change the channel. So many people believe the bullshit that they're spewing. It's, I don't know, it saddens me. People won't even do research on their own. Look it up, read a book. Hell, you've got Google. Personally, I would like to see everyone in the country vote, everyone eligible in every election. But I also as a side note to that, I would hope that it would be an informed electorate, and unfortunately, it's not. I see so many people that vote against their own interests. Middle class and poor people that vote Republican, when the Republicans don't give a crap about them in the least. I'm not saying that the Democrats are so much better on that particular front, but at least they put up the facade as if they are. My cousin who lives in Indiana, she's a great gal, very intelligent, and happens to be a lesbian, has a beautiful wife, and she is a hard right Christian Republican. And I was like, how can you vote against your own interests? Because obviously she's for marriage equality as well, because her marriage is not recognized by the state, it's recognized by their church, which I will say this, I got to give credit to that church for opening their arms to them like that. I think that was actually pretty cool and rare.
That is rare.
How do you vote against your own interests? She works in a factory killing turkeys all day long. So she's middle class through and through. And she votes against her own beliefs. It's like, how can you be so deluded? I don't get it. I'm a small business owner myself, but there's no way I would vote Republican because it's against my core values. I'd like to think that I have a conservative leaning approach towards fiscal issues, but I'm definitely socially liberal.
Do you think that there's I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask on a different topic. If you want to continue what you were saying, please go ahead.
Nope, I already lost it.
Sorry. Recently, they found more evidence that the Big Bang actually happened. And there's also a lot of controversy now with groups protesting the show Cosmos because it presented evidence that evolution is a valid scientific theory. At the same time, there's groups that are associated with the Tea Party in the South that are pushing to include creationism in the science class. Yet they are leading boycotts against, ironically, Fox now for airing Cosmos, and trying to suppress valid scientific theories such as the Big Bang and evolution. With all of the transitional fossils we have, because in all honesty, every fossil is a transitional fossil. And with all of the overwhelming evidence that we have that the Big Bang was real, why do you think people that have access to so much information are fighting so hard to keep science out of the science class and out of the media?
Well, I think it's because they're scared it's going to burst their God delusion. It's going to burst their whole bubble. And, people are scared to step out of their little bubble. And they see all this evidence as a direct threat to their Bible. And, the majority of all religious people, I would say, become religious because they're indoctrinated to it at an early age. And that's what they're taught. And then, of course, it depends on where you grew up as to what religion you're going to be indoctrinated in. Like if I was born in the Middle East, I imagine I would be a Muslim. Or if I was in India, I might be a Hindu. In America, it's Christianity. That's the prevalent religion. Like I said, I think they learn it young. They get them young before they can actually think for themselves. And then anything that questions that belief that's been hammered in their head, they view it as a threat. And I believe that's why they're fighting against science and real knowledge, even though I think that's a battle that they're losing. As far as creationism being taught in schools, I find that to be absolutely ridiculous. You know, even under the guise of intelligent design, you know, why not teach the creation myth based on Greek mythology, or pick a god, pick a religion, you know, or Odin, who knows? But they wouldn't want any of that, and like in the prayer in schools issue, you know, I think that's ridiculous. And that, for me, goes back to separation of church and state. Because I'm sure if they allowed it, what are they going to do if they have like a group of Satanist kids? Well, obviously, they're going to get ran off pretty damn quick. It's just about staying in their own little bubble. And religion has no place in our schools. Our schools are meant to educate our populace, our future. So why give them misinformation? Personally, I don't think you should be allowed in the church until you're 18.
Do you think that the American public school system is broken?
I do.
And how would you fix that? Or can you offer any ideas on how to improve it?
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm going to sound like a Democrat, but I would say throw more money at it. You know, smaller class sizes, better prepared teachers if you can find them. Pay the freaking teachers what they're worth. You know, it's our future that they're dealing with. I don't really have a lot of other great ideas. I think early education is a key. I was fortunate. I was raised by my dad and my grandmother because my mother was gone when I was just a baby, and my grandmother had time to work with me and teach me. And I was reading at age 3, you know, because I was lucky to have somebody to sit and teach me the value of wanting to learn. And so I think get them early, definitely, but don't get them early and pump them full of misinformation. You know, start them with the basics and maybe a longer school year. You know, we used to be the best country in the world when it came to education, at least in several different metrics, and we're not even close in any of those anymore. You know, so maybe we could find some examples of better performing countries.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, I lost you there for just a second. Okay. I believe what you're suggesting is that look at what other countries that are performing better are doing and study whether or not we should adopt their techniques and their curriculums.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that makes sense. Scientific. What is the most important topic to you? Anything goes. What would you consider the thing that you think about most or are interested in discussing?
Probably government and politics. I try to follow that pretty closely. I'm interested in how things are working and where we're headed. I like to study different religions, although I've done a lot of that. That's how I ended up being an atheist. The way I see it, you study one religion, you're hooked for life. Study 2, and you're done in an hour. You know, it's been said a lot. You know, you run into a theist, and you ask them, well, do you believe in Zeus? Or do you believe in Odin? And of course they're going to say no. It's like, well, I'm just like you, only I believe in one less God than you do. The same thing for me. But I like the topic. I like discussing it just because, I don't know, I get a kick out of it. And I like science. I like informative things. Watch a lot of documentaries. I like history. I try to be multifaceted. And then I guess my other hobby would be comedy, just because I like to laugh and I like to share that when I can. So.
Oh, comedy's the greatest good. I'm a big fan too. Who's your favorite comedian?
Oh, George Carlin, by far.
Oh yeah, yeah. Carlin was a genius.
I like Louis C.K.
Mm-hmm.
He's good. I don't know. There's too many to name, really. I like lots and lots of them.
I've been watching a lot of John LaJoy from Canada. He's pretty funny if you ever look him up. And I'll probably piss off a lot of members of the audience, but I'm also a fan of Sarah Silverman.
Oh, I love Sarah Silverman and Ricky Gervais. I love that he's outspoken about his atheism. Penn Jillette is another one. He's an outspoken atheist. He's also very intelligent and funny as hell.
It might surprise the listeners to know, but I believe Larry the Cable Guy is also an atheist.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
I believe he is.
Huh.
And I can look that up real quick to make sure.
I never really recall him saying anything about it one way or the other.
Yep, he was raised Jewish, but he is an atheist.
Right on. Well, I imagine he doesn't mention a lot of that in his comedy because I figure that a lot of his audience are Christian. And hey, if they're paying the bills, I'd keep my mouth shut too. I don't discuss religion or politics with any of my customers just because I want to continue working for them. Because I live in the Palm Springs area, and I own a handyman business, so I'm in people's homes. But it's a large percentage of our little Coachella Valley here is resorts and country clubs, gated communities, and so a lot of my customers are older, upper class. You know, they're hard right conservatives, mostly Christians, and so I always avoid bringing up those subjects around them because they pay my bills. So I could see where a cable guy would mention either. Although, if the door opens a little bit, I have been known to have religious discussions with my customers, but usually just over the Bible. We'll discuss the Bible because that's something I know very well. I've read the Bible cover to cover twice. First time when I was 13, and second time when I was 19. I think I had a little better perspective on it at 19, although I've always been a little bit precocious. And obviously countless passages throughout it, countless times. So I have a fairly good understanding of it, and I like to talk about the Bible with some of my Christian customers without ever letting them know. They just assume I'm Christian because I know the Bible.
Right.
I was just going to talk about when I get the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Christians that come to the door. Have you read your Bible? Well, I have a stand right next to my door that I keep my Bible on just for that. And every time that I open the door and they're there, I just want to really rip into them. But I can't ever bring myself to do it because it's usually like a couple of young kids or like last time there was a couple of older gals, and I'm like, I don't want to scare them off. So I just hold up my Bible and no, yeah, I'm good. No, I'm not buying what you're selling. Go to the next place.
Well, there's nothing wrong with handling things in a civil manner.
Well, that's the way I see it. But not that I don't want to be uncivil.
Well, I've thought about carrying some black candles and drawing a pentagram in the middle of the living room as a welcome mat if when they come to the door, to try to. But I've skipped that idea. Too much work.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll just go to the door naked.
that works.
And invite them in. Come on in. Oh, we're good. Are you sure? I can make you some tea.
Well, Daniel, I want to thank you for coming on the show, having a rational conversation, and thank you.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Phone lines are still open, 718-213-4601, or on Skype, LOP Entropy. Thank you.
Hello there.
Hello, this is LOP Radio Entropy.
Hi.
I believe I have Titanic on the line.
How are you this evening?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I was going to talk about like all the corporations that don't pay taxes. I can't believe how many corporations don't pay taxes. Like, I saw a list of them. One was General Electric, and the NFL, National Football League, they don't pay taxes.
That's amazing.
And I find that unusual because they have players that make $1 million salaries. So it's kind of too bad. I don't think they should be cutting back on these things that the people need. I think they should be making these corporations pay their fair share.
You're not a communist, are you?
Oh, hell no. Not at all. Yeah.
Because a lot of people, if you said that on a conspiracy site, would say, well, you're a Marxist. You're a communist. The NFL shouldn't pay taxes. Are you kidding me?
Well, it should just be fair taxes to the corporations, really. Instead of cutting this food stamp program, they should be keeping it going because, there are children in America that are going hungry. That's what I'm saying.
America has...
it's bullshit, too.
Hi.
Yeah.
Who's that in the
thanks,
background?
Entropy. I hope that helped you out.
Well, thank you for calling. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's about it. Everything's going great. Take care.
You too. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hello, this is Entropy with LOP Radio. You are now on the air.
I found website time ago, weird website to a degree, but there's good people here. My topic, well, I guess America will be my topic. Because, you probably got it that I'm from Russia. So, right now, Ukraine happening, lots of stuff. And, what is your position on all of this right now? Comment on that.
Well, I don't know a lot about the history between the Ukraine and Russian people. And I know what's been said in the mainstream American media and some of the alternative media. My personal feeling on it is because of my political views that America should not police the entire planet, and that we should kind of mind our own business and stay out of it.
Okay. Well, my position is simple. I understand that Crimea is mostly Russian, so that place is going to go to Russia. If not this year, it would go in 20 years, because most people there are Russian. The rest of Ukraine is another story, because there's only, it's like 8 to 10 million Russians in eastern Ukraine. Now, there's a problem here. Western Ukraine, the people from there, they don't hide that they hate Russians. They want them dead, like literally dead or gone. So here creates a problem for Putin and for Russians in general. Do you go protect these Russians or don't you do nothing? So if we go protect Russians, then the West will attack us because, they'll think, well, you can't do that. But at the same time, the West does this. So it's very complicated. My only hope is government in Ukraine don't do anything stupid. But right now they have their own problems. They're fighting each other there. So, power division. Everyone who took down government now want all the power. And some are not getting power.
So do you feel the West will get involved if the Ukraine and Russia get into a firefight?
Well, it depends. I don't think so. Too much at the line. World War III, too big. But life's unpredictable. One shot, one soldier could start it all off.
It's happened before. What do you think? What do you think about Putin?
I think he's strong leader. I know he no saint. I understand this. But coming from the rest in 1999, I remember growing up, all the politicians lied, they stole, they were all bad. There was no one. Putin came, he used the hand like Stalin did, but he got the country back stable and under control. For that, I give him credit.
Do you believe that he's only going after Russian interest in Crimea, or do you think that he has other interests involving going into the Ukraine in its entirety?
Well, I think militarily and oil is primary concern. Citizens, add to country itself, prestige, all that shit. I don't know if there's sub, motive. Maybe he want USSR back. He is trying to create a Eurasian alliance. So, who knows? I can't answer that. I'm not him.
I saw where it was announced that the United States and the UK are going to move ahead with their plans to reinforce what they call a missile shield in Eastern Europe. They said it has nothing to do with Russia. I believe it has everything to do with Russia.
Well,
what's your take on that?
Put it this way. I remember in Russia watching on TV how Gorbachev, there was a documentary about Gorbachev, how Reagan promised that the missile shield would not be in Eastern Europe at all. NATO would be disbanded if you leave Berlin, the wall. Gorbachev did. Reagan did not disband NATO. So you can see many Russians see this as, you lied. So we don't trust you. Factor.
And do you live in Russia now?
No, I'm in America right now. I would not be calling into an American radio show if I was not living in America, my friend.
I got you. Well, this isn't really an American radio show. We just host this on the internet. How do you like it here?
It's okay. A lot of Americans complain that it's bad here, but I'll say this: it's all right. It's livable. You can survive in America if you know how to work, and that's very important.
Do Americans and Russians have more in common than they do differences?
Actually, you'll be surprised. Growing up in Russia with all my friends and watching kids here in college, I go to college, they talk the same subject sometimes, the general chatter about people. So that's something interesting I've noticed. The main difference, I guess, is, culturally, in Russia there's more religious people than I noticed here.
Really?
But,
you don't have to say what part of America you're in. I take it you're not in the South.
No, I'm in Northwest.
Okay.
Liberalsville, they call it. There's a lot of liberals down here. They're a whole other subject for me. So I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, in Russia they're more religious, but they're not religious like here. They don't make you go to church. They mention God a lot, but they don't try to put it on you. Nothing like that. It's very completely different. There's no sermon. Like, in America you hear religious, they will repeat lines in Bible verses. No, they don't do that in Russia. I've never heard anyone tell me Bible lines. Maybe a priest once, and that's about it.
Is it more spiritual?
Well, yes, it's more about life, that there is something to this life. We have our lives, we do our things, and we do a lot of fucked up things. So it has to amount to something in the end. That's my personal belief, not all Russians.
Do you believe that we share the same challenges as far as corruption goes in government, and here in America that people face in Russia and in other countries too?
I'll say corruption's everywhere. That's general. The main problem and the main difference I've seen, you see, it's changing here. Maybe soon, I don't know yet. But I always saw in Russia the government would not care about your people. Now it's changing, and here they would care about your people. But now in America, the government's starting not to care for their people. In Russia, they are starting to care for their people. That was the main difference I always seen, and now it's reversing. So I just hope America doesn't stop doing that, because that was its key. You have to help people sometimes, and people get in all kinds of shit sometimes. You know what I mean by help. American. If your country, for example, is very fucked up, they might give you a citizenship to start a life here. They won't give. I'm not for welfare or any of that, but I'm saying that this country has helped people. If you know what I mean. If you don't, I'll try to explain another way.
Okay. I believe I know what you mean. Just in case any of the listeners do not, if you would like to elaborate on that, feel free to.
I don't really have anything to add. It's kind of hard to explain for me. My English is not too good. It's in between. I'm doing classes, trying to improve it. Done some accent classes, some reading, all of that. Trying to learn more English. Gotta learn Spanish soon too, I guess.
Well, you're doing fine, in my opinion.
Well, my mother taught me English when I was little, but I didn't pay attention. I didn't care. To me it was very strange. I was like, what the fuck? I talk grammar with Russian. What is this?
Well, that's a good thing. Studies show that if you learn foreign languages as a child, it actually increases your ability to learn other skills later.
Well, yes, my mother taught me, nouns, all that basic stuff. Some of it stuck. But I didn't know any of the, sentencing all the way, hard words. There's other ways to say stuff, like that. It was limited. I was very lazy kid. That's all I can say. And my mother traveled a lot, so it just kind of dropped later. And then when I came to America, I could talk from Russian school a little, and I improved. I talk with my dad all the time, so he helped me improve too.
That's good.
So yeah. So how you start this show?
A long time ago, we had a little thing going where we had a LOP radio that was hosted by another person, another server, and I was in the process of getting some things together to relaunch that, and Liberty came along, and he had some stuff already set up, and I joined along with him, and the rest is history. This will be my last broadcast for a while. I'm going off the air, and I appreciate you calling in, and the show will continue. As far as I know, there's plans for a panel discussion to take the spot of this show that will be happening via LOP chat on Saturday nights. And if you want to go in there and join with these guys and help along with that, then I'm sure they would welcome you to do so.
Well, man, that's sad that your show going down there. Who knows, maybe people will spread this show and you'll stay on air, because, who knows, maybe you have future in it. I've seen some people, they, they're about to drop everything, but then in the last moment they didn't, and they did make something of it.
Well, I appreciate it. And thanks for calling. And is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
Not really, it's already been around 10 minutes.
Holy
I
shit,
said everything I really need to say. So good luck to you and to your show. Yep. And, good luck everyone. Goodbye.
It really was. If you
Thank
listen
you.
to the
Thanks
voice,
for calling
it's
in,
a different
Bye.
voice from Joplin's.
Oh, totally different. She had a sweeter sound.